In the first video using the gyro sensor, we wrote a program that would set up the first readings from the gyro. Then we started turning. Then we checked to see if we'd turned far enough, and then we stopped our motors. And what that did was enabled us to make a 90-degree turn to the right. Let's see that again. Alright, now your challenge was to experiment, see if it would turn in other directions or different number of degrees, and you may have found that you ran into some problems. So if I changed it to -90 to turn the other direction and change the power so that I'd turn that way, nothing happened. Now why would that be? Well, if we go down to our test inside of our while loop, our degrees to turn is -90. Our degrees that we turn so far is 0. And 0 is not less than -90. So that means that the test failed and none of the waiting inside the while loop happened. And we went straight to stop turning. So that's why it never turned. To fix this, it's pretty easy. We use a little bit of math, and specifically the absolute value command or function. We don't care about the sign or the negative sign. We only care if we've turned a large enough number of degrees. So if we use the absolute value and change the degrees so far to positive and the degrees to turn to positive, just knowing the magnitude, we won't have to worry about that test failing. Now you can see we've successfully turned to the left. There's also one other thing I'm not a big fan of, and that is changing both the degrees and the direction that the motor's turning. It'd be nice to be able to just change the number of degrees. So when the degrees are positive, I've needed a negative power. We can make it so that the degrees are always connected to the motor power by using this function called sine. We can multiply the power times the sine of the degrees to turn. So if it's -15 times the positive 90, it's going to stay a -15. If the degrees to turn is negative, then a negative times a negative will make a positive motor speed. So let's test it out. So I'm turning the correct way there. Try it again. So we had a positive 90, we turn to the right. If I change it to -90, then that negative from the 90 times the -15 will give it a positive 15 for the power of the motor, and it turns the correct way. Let's try a different angle. Let's try 180 degrees. So we should be turning to the right. And you'll see it turns all the way around. Let's try out -180. That should go back the other way, all the way around. This time your challenge is to read an article on the internet about writing your own RobotC functions.